We've all heard about certain political groups utilizing social media or manipulating social media to spread propaganda. A lot of times that conversation centers around the role of the Russian government. But what about groups of people who might have radical political beliefs who want to spread propaganda and misinformation in a way that suits their agenda? Well, recently, right-wing leaks on Twitter shared some leaked footage from Discord, which is a chat platform that was usually utilized by people who like gaming and video games.
Those two very different topics.
You get what I'm saying. It's a chat platform for gamers for the most part. Now, with that said, it turns out that there were alt-right individuals who were using Discord to discuss ways in which they could manipulate trending videos on YouTube. Now, the group of alt-right people that I'm about to talk about are mostly based in Germany, and they're involved in German politics. Like, they're not elected officials, but what they're doing is trying to basically get videos trending on YouTube that spread messages that they like to influence German politics. Okay, now with that said, in the clips of an audio chat from Discord published by the alt-right leaks Twitter account, members can be heard discussing the use of fake accounts or sock accounts to raid YouTube videos by commenting on those they seek to popularize and by using the dislike button to bury those of their political opponents. So we have examples of that leaked footage for you, so I want to go ahead and toss to the first one, video 10.
Ja, ich werd ein paar Kosovo-Albaner mit Klarnamen da reinlassen. Weil die haben von nichts mehr Panik als vor Ausländern, dass sie von Ausländern auch noch kritisiert werden.
Sag mal, Leute, wie viele Doppel- oder Brand-Accounts kann man denn jetzt nun machen insgesamt? Ich habe jetzt bestimmt schon 12.
YouTube soll unendlich viele machen können. Ja, dann hast du einen verifizierten Account, kann das sein?
Ja.
Dann kannst du 99 machen, glaube ich.
Holy shit. Ja, wird dann mein richtiger Account gesperrt irgendwann? Oder?
Nein, eigentlich nicht.
Abuse?
Wenn du das jetzt, also wie gesagt, einfach nicht sowas auf, also lass keine Rückschlüsse, so. Also lege das Puzzle nicht auf, ne?
Luckily, that didn't sound even more scary in German.
Okay, real quick for our radio audience, I just want to summarize that video because obviously it was in a foreign language, you can't read the subtitles. But they're talking about how many fake YouTube accounts they can create in order to go after certain videos and get the videos they want trending.
And they said basically infinite,
right.
and they said pretend to be a foreigner and they will have a harder time criticizing you, presumably talking about the left. So that's particularly tricky. So it's alt-right guys who hate immigrants posing as immigrants.
Right. So the platform's trending mechanism, this is for YouTube, determined by an algorithm that does not account for the accuracy of a video's content or whether it is intended as harassment. These vulnerabilities were most recently exploited when a conspiracy theory claiming one of the survivors of the Parkland, Florida high school shooting was a crisis actor, and that was boosted into YouTube's trending category overnight despite its demonstrably false content. So that's an example of how the trending mechanism on YouTube was gamed in that case, right? Because that was obviously a video with propaganda. That was not a crisis actor. He was an actual victim of that shooting who was speaking out in favor of gun control. So look, I don't know what the solution is for this kind of stuff, but we know that it happens. And I think the important thing is to make sure the public knows about it. So when they come across certain types of content that has a very clear political motivation, they just inform themselves so they're not susceptible to that propaganda.
Well, look, this breaks down into two different categories, and it's really important to make the distinction. One is the sock puppets. So presumably there is something that could be done about that. I certainly wouldn't know how to do it, but YouTube has a lot of people that are employed by it, that are great at tech, and the other platforms, so it's not just a YouTube issue. So you want to get rid of fake accounts? Great, wonderful. And I saw the other day, the alt-right was complaining that some of their fake followers on Twitter were taken away by Twitter. Isn't that really embarrassing to complain about? Like, I had all these wonderful fake followers. Why did you guys take them away? Okay, so that's one thing, and I think that they should do something about that. I don't think they should do anything about false content because they have a right to say things that aren't true. And if you try to police that, you'd have to get rid of almost every right-wing video on YouTube. And I don't think they should. So, and by the way, some of it is popular. So Alex Jones is a lunatic, but apparently there's a good market for lunatics. So, so some people believe, oh, he nailed it, man. The frogs are all gay, and all these gorilla, pig, human hybrids are running around. I think it's a free country. I think he's allowed to be a lunatic.
Look, so I think there's some nuance to what you're saying, and I think for the most part we agree. But I think, look, if you have someone like Alex Jones saying that lizard people are running around, okay, do you boo, right? Because he's not going after a specific person. My concern is, and I've seen a lot of these videos on YouTube, my concern is when you have a group of people who will target a specific individual and defame that individual as something that he or she is not, or something that he or she has not even said. So, and look, I mean, we know what that's like. I'm Armenian, my family was victimized by the Armenian genocide. There's a ton of videos out there claiming I'm an Armenian genocide denier, even though I've talked about the genocide on multiple occasions on this show. And so that defamatory content actually leads to violent threats toward me, credible violent threats by Armenians, okay? So that's the kind of stuff that YouTube should be policing, but they don't.
You can have rules, obviously. I mean, it's not, we can't have just complete and utter anarchy, but I would argue, yeah, direct threats of violence, not allowed. That's clear. Doxing, not allowed. But outside of that, I really don't think I could come up with anything where I'm comfortable saying, okay, do something about that. And my reasoning is, it will always inevitably come back to be used against us and people like us. Because, for example, I always think of the fact that, you know, the United States, we're obviously in bed with Saudi Arabia, and through Saudi Arabia, we've armed rebels in Syria. Many of those rebels are jihadists. So when I go on my show, Secular Talk, and I point out, oh my goodness, we're in bed with jihadists, I sound like Alex Jones when I say that. And it's easy for somebody to point at me and go, conspiracy theory, but it's, what I'm saying is true. And so I'm afraid if you open the door to start taking down a whole bunch of stuff, that it always inevitably gets flipped back around on the left, and they come after us for saying things that are accurate.
Yeah, and again, we discussed this at the end of last week, Anna. It's hard to, like if you say, okay, no conspiracy theories allowed, well, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
So are you gonna say you're not allowed to talk about the JFK shooting? I mean, that's a perfectly valid thing to discuss at least. So on the other hand, you know, when there's a specific attack on someone along the lines of, that you mentioned, Anna, well, so it's super hard for an algorithm to pick that up. How do they know what your position on the Armenian genocide is?
That's right, I know.
So now then, if you go to report to the authorities, for example, not that case because that's just a lie, right? But someone who then takes it to the next level and then says maybe somebody should do something about it, etc. That standard, if you've never done it, is super high. So, and I'm not sure that it could even be breached for the FBI to give a damn. So that's why in the Parkland, Florida shooting, when they say, oh, the FBI got complaints that this guy left a YouTube comment and should have done something about it. Are you kidding me? The FBI all they would do is police YouTube comments if that's all they were gonna do, to the point where they will not act unless you're the president or someone incredibly powerful and there is a super credible threat of violence, specific violence aimed at you. So I don't know how in the world we're gonna solve the issue of nonstop lies, not just on YouTube, but all over the internet, without then creating a backlash that Kyle's talking about, where the mainstream media gets to go, I'm the only one saying the official truth.
That's right. And can we also just say that these people are just the biggest losers I've ever seen in my life?
I know, but
like you're
what
talking
they
to
do
each other.
works.
Let's create 12 accounts. Like really, this is what you're doing with your time?
But
How ridiculous is that?
It works. It works. I mean, I see it on YouTube on a regular basis, and you know, it's interesting to see how certain content gets manipulated as well, where people who are outspoken political commentators on YouTube will have their content taken out of context on purpose and misrepresented in conservative videos. And I'm not talking about, you know, mistakes. I'm talking about intentional misrepresentation of what someone says. And look, my concern goes even further than, oh, this is propaganda and it's going to misinform people. I'm worried about actual violence against the people that they're targeting in these videos. And so I hear what you're saying, and I have the same concerns. I don't want YouTube going too far and hindering, you know, just like this democracy that I see at YouTube where different perceptions are represented. But what I do want is at least an avenue in which people can protect themselves. So if they see that type of misrepresentation or that type of defamation, they can at least take some sort of action to get that content down.
But even that is hard. So the case that you lay out is really black and white. You've been overwhelmingly clear on the Armenian genocide. You've done it 1,000 times. They're 100% lying about your position, etc. But let's say when they get into our positions on policy or whatever else, there's 1,000 lies, and some of them are black and white, and some of them are a little grayer, and et cetera, et cetera. And Jesus, what is YouTube supposed to do about that? I mean,
they're already deranking videos. Like, so as a result of the Russia scenario, they admitted that, oh yeah, well, we're deranking them, so what else do you want us to do? Almost in a defensive way, because everybody's like, you gotta do more, and they're like, no, but we did derank them, so relax, like that's taken care of. And again, that goes back to my main point, I don't need to reiterate it, but that means that all of us are feeling the effects of that as well, because we're not viewed kindly by the establishment. And so they'll lump us in with RT and just throw us out the window.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, let's take the Armenian genocide example. So I did write an article about it when I was in college. Now, I retracted that article, I don't deny it. Nonetheless, they will say it 1,000 times. We've talked about it on the show, et cetera. 100 times, it doesn't matter. You can talk about it 2 times, 100 times, it doesn't matter. They say he denies it nonstop, right? So I'm gonna get every one of those YouTube commenters banned. No, it's just not manageable.
Yeah.
The videos about it not banned. So the internet has democratized media. It has an enormous upside where we don't just have to listen to that news actor on television telling us, manufacturing consent basically, and telling us what the establishment version of the truth is. And that advantage is monumental. The disadvantage is it has also unleashed a swarm of lies.
Oh yeah.
And it is nearly impossible to pull back all those lies. And so, and by the way, but last point, and to Anna's point, even if you're a right winger and you get a laugh out of it, like, ha, we smeared you and those guys smeared those other people and we're so wonderfully evil and I guess congratulations or whatever, right? But think about this. Those guys that are creating the fake accounts and that are clearly spreading lies on purpose, they're gonna get you banned, okay? If you're a right winger, they're not gonna make distinctions. They're just gonna go,
that's a good point.
Oh, you know what, that guy lies. I mean, you said this and that ain't really true either, right? Or somebody thinks that's not true, or CNN says it's not true, right? And off you go. So as much as these guys might be our literal enemies, they're gonna hurt you just as much, man. They're gonna get all of you banned. If you wanna get the whole Young Turks show every single day, become a member, tytnetwork.com/join. And once you do, you'll be saying,
you know, I'm like a smart person.
Or you might say,
I think it's weird.
Or you might say,
oops.
No, that won't be that one. It won't be that one. It'll be great, trust me. tytnetwork.com/join.